Test 5, Section 1. You will hear a woman who has just moved into the area talking to a neighbour about problems she is having in her house. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 2. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Oh, hi Ruth. How are you?
I'm sorry to bother you, Alistair, but I've been having some problems.
Oh, come on in. What's happened?
Basically, I had a leak from one of the pipes in the bathroom, and water started coming through downstairs, and the kitchen ceiling's badly stained. I've got the leak fixed temporarily, but I wasn't happy with the plumber, and I wanted to ask your advice.
Of course. Well, the first thing I'd say is make sure you choose a local company. That way, if things go wrong, you're close by and it just makes things easier.
Alistair says that Ruth should choose a local company, so local has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 2.
Oh, hi Ruth. How are you?
I'm sorry to bother you, Alistair, but I've been having some problems.
Oh, come on in. What's happened?
Basically, I had a leak from one of the pipes in the bathroom, and water started coming through downstairs, and the kitchen ceiling's badly stained. I've got the leak fixed temporarily, but I wasn't happy with the plumber, and I wanted to ask your advice.
Of course. Well, the first thing I'd say is make sure you choose a local company. That way, if things go wrong, you're close by and it just makes things easier.
Let me write this down. Right. Yes. The plumber who fixed things yesterday was from quite far away, but I chose him because his advert said he did emergency repairs.
Well, fair enough. You needed something in a hurry. But another piece of advice I'd give is try to avoid calling anybody on weekends. That'll really bump up the prices. Leave it till Monday if you can.
Well, yes, I think I can do that, because the temporary fix should hold. And obviously I'll need the ceiling plastered and eventually redecorated.
Yeah, sure.
So who would you recommend? Is there a directory?
Well, there's quite a good website covering this sort of work. It's www.plasdeco.com.
Is that with a K?
A C. PLASDECO.com.
Got it. Well, I'll try and have a look at that.
Yes, it gives price and quality comparisons.
Oh, that'll be useful. But I find personal recommendations really helpful as well. You know, you can find out whether you can rely on the company.
Well, I know a couple of reasonable plumbers and also some plasterers.
Great.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 3 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 3 to 10.
There's a company called Peaks Plumbing. Now, they're a father and son team. They're really friendly and they tell you information you need in a clear way, so they really understand what the problem is.
Right, well, that's good to know. Are they reliable?
Well, that's a downside. every single time I've used them, they arrive late. And friends have said the same thing.
But is the work good quality?
Absolutely. Another one is John Damerel Plumbing Services. He's very good.
How do you spell the surname?
Damerol.
Right, got that. And does he do high-quality work?
Well, it's fine, you know, but I wouldn't say that was his main point. Basically, he comes out cheaper, you know, than other people.
I sense there's a but. Is he unreliable?
Oh, he comes when he says he's coming, but he's not very courteous, and he has the tendency to be messy, you know, so you have quite a bit of clearing up to do.
Okay.
So it's up to you. They're both good workers, and they won't cheat you.
Right. And you said you knew some plasterers?
Yes, a company called Simonson Plasterers did our living room last year. We chose them because we wanted some fancy work on the ceiling, around the lights.
So they can do a variety of designs?
You've got it. But it comes at a premium because they are more expensive, you know.
Than the others?
Yes. Or you could go for a one-man firm called HL Plastering, Harry Lester. He's fine, very reliable, if all you want is a simple job.
Do either of them do painting for you if you want? After the plastering's dried out, of course.
That's what I was going to say, but I should explain that Harry's quite old now, and so he avoids doing jobs which involve tall ladders, you know.
But my kitchen isn't too bad for that. I'd have to ask him if he's prepared to do it.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll start by looking at the website.
All those companies are on there, with their phone numbers, etc.
Thanks ever so much. You were such a...
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2.
Section 2. You will hear the Master of a University Hall of Residence giving a short introductory talk to new students at the University Hall of Residence. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully to the short introductory talk and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chelston Hall of Residence. My name is Dr. Frank Jones, and I am the Master of Chelston Hall. As you all know, you are all attending Wesley University to study different courses, and Chelston Hall of Residence will be your home for the first year of your studies. You are all first-year students, as Chelston offers accommodation only to first-year students at the university. In this short talk, I'm going to go through some of the things you ought to know about life in the hall. I will also go through some rules so that we can all live together in a satisfactory way for the whole year. First of all, I would like to go through the eating arrangements. Chelston Hall offers full board accommodation, so there will be breakfast and dinner every day, with lunch also available at weekends. You are not obliged to go to the meals, but they will be there if you wish to take advantage of them. In fact, it would be a waste of money not to, as you are paying for the food in your hall fees. The times of the meals are as follows. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. every day, though these times are an hour later at weekends. Dinner is served at 6:30 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. 7 days a week. On Saturday and Sunday, lunch is served at 12:30 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. If you are late, then you will not get any food. Once the hatches are closed in the dining hall, they stay closed. The dining hall is cafeteria-style service, and there is always a selection of food for vegetarians. If there are a lot of people at the dining hall, then please queue up in an orderly manner and wait your turn. Please do not push into the queue. At the end of your meal, please take your tray over to the side tables and put your dirty plates and utensils in the appropriate places. We do have kitchen staff, but they are not your servants, and we expect you to take your own dishes and cutlery off the table. Rudeness and incivility to the staff will also not be tolerated. Each evening after dinner there will be coffee and tea available in the common room until 9:30. Again, please do not leave cups lying around, but put the dirty ones back on the trays provided. The coffee service will be discontinued if the common room becomes an untidy tip. Other facilities that we have here on site are a TV room and a self-service laundry. The TV room has one set which can receive the regular channels but no satellite channels. The laundry room has 8 washing machines and 8 dryers. These are all coin operated. You will need £1 in 2 50p pieces for one wash. The dryers take 20p pieces and will run for 15 minutes on one 20p piece. We recommend that you buy a box of washing detergent at the local supermarket, but you can buy individual packets of washing powder from a vending machine, provided it has not run out. One individual box from the machine is good for one wash.
You now have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the short introductory talk and answer questions 16 to 20.
As you will know by now, the hall is divided up into corridors with 6 rooms attached to each corridor. Each corridor has shower compartments, 1 bath and a kitchen. We have cleaners who clean up the corridors and bathrooms, but the cleaners are not responsible for cleaning the kitchens. So if you want to cook something in addition to the food we provide, then please clean up your dirty pans and plates yourself. If any kitchen gets into too bad a state, then it will be closed and locked up for the remainder of the term. Any dirty dishes or pans that are in the kitchen will just be thrown out. By the way, as you will also know, the corridors are co-ed, so you will need a reasonable amount of consideration and modesty moving around to the bathrooms and back. Another important issue is our fire drill. Please make sure that you have read the notice which is in every corridor about what to do if there is a fire. It is very important that you know where your nearest fire exit is and where to go when you get out of the building. For example, if you are in Block A, there are 2 exits, and not everyone should exit from just one of these. The assembly point for both blocks is the car park, where your block leader will take a roll call to make sure no one is left inside. We are obliged by the fire service to perform 2 emergency practices every year. Please take them seriously, as if they are not done well, then we shall have 3 or 4 or 5 practices, or however many it takes to get it right. Finally, we have the issue of noise. For a lot of you, this will be the first time not living at home with your family, and you will have access to lots of friends your own age and alcohol. I must urge you at all times to try and behave with consideration to your fellow hall tenants at all times. Don't play your music too loudly or make too much noise at any time, and especially at night. People around you all the time will be trying to work, sleep or just relax. Have fun, but think of others. we take quite a strict attitude to those who end up annoying everyone else. If you are found to be disturbing others in the hall to an unreasonable amount, you will be warned, and if the problem persists, you will be asked to leave. You will not receive any refund of the funds you have paid. I hope that I have not unduly worried anyone.
That is the end of section 2.
Exam Practice Test 6, Listening Part 3. You will hear two commerce students called Stella and Nathan talking about the importance of market research in business. First, you have time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi Nathan, shall we compare ideas for our assignment on market research?
Good idea. So first in the assignment, I think we should explain what market research is. One definition I found was this: gathering information about consumers' needs and preferences.
I like that. Nice and clear. So then, we need to establish the benefits of market research. Why do it? I read that many business people think it's about finding the next market they can exploit, but it's more complex than that.
I agree. To me, it's about unpredictability. Markets can change unexpectedly, but if you've done research, you can minimise the chance that something will go wrong in your own business.
That's a really significant point. You may also learn the most effective means of promoting your business.
But that depends on the business. It's not a general advantage.
No, you're right. But I do think the sums you invest in market research, you'll see a return on that eventually.
That's it exactly. Great point. The trouble is, too many of those working in business take a short-term view.
OK, so there are benefits. But there are criticisms of market research as well. We should acknowledge that in the assignment.
But some criticisms are more valid than others.
Like?
Well, apparently some managers say they're just too busy. But that's a poor excuse.
Maybe they think they already know everything they need to know.
Maybe they do, but that's an issue with them, not with market research.
OK, fair enough. But I read an interesting study out of the USA showing that the results of a lot of market research are just unreliable. The supposed developments identified by the research never occur.
Yes, that's a good point. Then another question is, can businesses actually see if market research is working? I mean, is it possible for a business to say categorically that increased profits resulted from market research?
But that's a criticism of how businesses are structured, not research itself.
Yeah, OK. Though you've got to admit, market researchers love jargon. These are examples from one report I read. Psychographics, cool hunting, and asynchronous research. Some people are bound to be put off by these terms.
Yes, that's a reasonable complaint.
So, what about sources of information for market research? Which sources of information work best? I mean, we all know that putting cameras in stores tells us a lot about consumer behaviour.
Yes, that's well documented. But I read that managers can learn a lot about social trends just by doing really obvious things, like keeping up with the news on TV, radio and digital networking sites. I hadn't thought it could be that simple.
No, me neither. Then there's a lot of data put out by bodies like the National Census and the Civil Service. That can be helpful.
Maybe, but it depends on the business. What I hadn't expected, though, was the evidence showing that talking to consumers directly about their preferences really works.
Yeah, I was a bit taken aback when I read that. But apparently it's more effective than internet questionnaires and polls.
I think people are less likely to be honest in questionnaires.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
All right, so if a business wants to use its own resources for market research, what's the process?
Good question. Let's think about a company that isn't using outside consultants, but doing it internally. Then I think the first step is staff education. You've got to get all employees committed to maximise the chances of success.
Agreed. Then you need to show staff examples of what they can do every day.
You mean in their interactions with customers?
Yes. What precisely should they ask customers in order to get valuable information? Show staff the sorts of things they can ask on a daily basis.
OK. And next, I was reading an article by the BQR group. Apparently, staff need to keep an account of what the customers are saying.
You mean on computer or by hand?
The format doesn't matter. But say every Friday they should add to the document, so they build up a picture of customer opinions, and the insights aren't lost.
Good point. Right, next, I read about ways of motivating staff. Business Guide magazine had a report on the importance of maintaining motivation.
So, what? By looking ahead and deciding what to do next?
Well, in fact, Business Guide's approach is to get your staff together around a table as frequently as possible to discuss their findings.
That sounds like a good approach. Next, you need to provide detailed feedback about any changes you decide, so everyone can see the outcomes of the research.
Nice idea. Then you have to ensure continued participation by the staff. You want market research to be ongoing, not just a one-off.
Oh, this is the idea of delegating, so that each staff member is accountable for market research in one area of the business.
Yeah, exactly. And then another aspect of this is the fact...
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Exam Practice Test 6, Listening Part 4. You will hear a biology student talking about water and how much people need to drink each day. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Hi everyone. My presentation today is looking at drinking water. Now we know that water is a vital nutrient for human life. But exactly how much of it do we need to drink? Well, today I'm going to review some of the research. So, for example, there's a common idea that we should drink 8 glasses of water every day. But researchers say that the 8 glasses a day rule is a myth. Some people might need more than 8 glasses, some a lot less. The only group for whom the rule is useful seems to be the elderly, because they don't always feel thirsty, even when their bodies are actually short of water. So for them, 8 glasses a day might be a good rough guide. Okay, let's look next at what effects water has on the body. One issue of interest is weight loss. And there are lots of theories about this. It's been claimed that dieters should drink more at nighttime, or drink when they first wake up. But there's no research to back this up. But actually, there is some evidence from studies to show that subjects who drank a lot of water and then had their meals lost more weight. But that may only be because the water filled them up and reduced their appetites. I also read some of the research done by Dr. Amaldi, who's looked in depth at this whole issue of drinking water. And one of his studies does support the common claim that water is good for the stomach. In particular, it seems to increase the rate at which digestion takes place, which overall has a number of health benefits. Another interesting study I read about took place in the US, and this one was investigating the effects of dehydration. That is, not having enough water in the body. And what the US study indicated was that when a subject was low on water, their body's ability to regulate its own temperature was compromised compared to a properly hydrated subject. Now there's another frequent claim about water that I was interested in looking into. But in my reading anyway, I could find no evidence at all to support the idea that hydration improves or enhances the skin in any specific way. So that claim may be a bit of a myth as well. Another interesting aspect of this concerns the brain. And I read about a couple of research studies investigating how water intake may affect brain function. In the first study, the research subjects were female, and the less hydrated group were affected more frequently by headaches compared to those who drank more water. In the second study, the research subjects were all male. And this time, a lack of water in the body was associated with a number of findings. In particular, the subjects in this group reported increased feelings of anxiety when dehydrated. So, in summary, we can see that, yes, there are some health benefits from drinking plenty of water. But in many of these studies, the benefit was quite small. And it's probably true that in general, on the internet and so on, the benefits of drinking lots of water are overstated. But what about the opposite? Can you drink too much water? Well, it's possible, but it's not a common problem. Actually, the human body kind of prevents us drinking too much. Australian researchers discovered that when subjects were fully hydrated, they actually found swallowing problematic. Their bodies just wouldn't allow it so easily. So that's an interesting finding. It is true that people do occasionally become sick from drinking too much water, although it is rare. So there are recorded instances of illness among athletes who have been encouraged to drink a lot, for example. According to doctors, people who have drunk too much water too quickly have become what's called hyponatremic. Basically, this means that the makeup of their blood has changed, and it now contains such a high proportion of salt that they suffer an adverse effect. But it's very rare for this sort of hyponatremia to be a dangerous condition. So, based on the reading I've done, the best advice is to trust your body. Drink water when you're thirsty, but you probably don't need to drink more often than that.
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers.